Yo, what's up, everybody? Podcast time. Hey, man, ministry's hard.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Joseph Norris, Jamie Barfield. I thought we would just have a conversation today just about, I thought it was going to go a different way, but then I just thought, you know what? Let's have a conversation about our denomination. I love the Church of God. I am, fourth generation Church of God. We have all the connections in the Church of God. There are some frustrations that we have with our denomination, both, district-wide, statewide, internationally. There's frustrations that you have, but let's talk to the pastor out there that's connected to a denomination and some of the challenges that leader may face or may have to deal with, and some of the questions that we've had through this process and through this journey.
Let's go.
Nervous?
Always. Always.
Let's start by talking about we call it a tithe of tithe.
Mm-hmm.
We give a percentage of what comes in here. We give a tithe of our tithe that
Yes.
comes in. I think it's biblical. We should tithe as a church. I talked Sunday about, I believe you reap what you sow. We should tithe as a church. And then we trust those over us in the Lord to make wise decisions with the tithe of tithe that we give to them. It goes some to the state, some to the international, some goes to retired ministers, some goes to specialty ministries, things of that nature, some administrative costs, things of that nature. But let's talk about, you pastored a church in a rural type town. Obviously been a part of this ministry for the last few years. Let's talk about the tithe of tithe and what some of your friends may say about even that concept, because you are way more connected in the day-to-day friend group of Church of God pastors, ministry leaders than I am in today's world. Why are you looking at me like that?
It's a unique perspective, but
Which is what?
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm any more connected to anybody else,
Well, I think you have a lot of friends, right?
Yes. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting set up, so I'm trying to be careful here. No,
right.
I do. I have been fortunate to, through youth camp and through many other means, to connect with some incredible people, and a lot of them are in ministry in our denomination. But
so what's your thoughts of tithe of tithe, or what was your thoughts of tithe back in the day?
Yeah, for me, it was never even a thought. One benefit that I always celebrate at the church I pastor specifically, and I know that's not necessarily a conversation, but I think it deserves to be said, for those who pastor in our denomination, if you have a good clerk, man, it covers so much. And so George Freeman, incredible clerk, a legacy of clerks there at the Society Hill Church of God. And so for me, finances were never anything that I really had to worry about outside of being aware of the budget and and operating within it. But tithe and tithe, that was something for us that was never a question.
100-year legacy.
Yeah.
They did it. No complaints, no gripes, no grumbles. Here it is. This is what it is.
But then I got to start seeing ministry for some other points of view, like when my dad went to a church that didn't have a budget. And the first people there were 3 people. He had the same convictions I had, but now you're tithing of tithe and you got bills to pay. And so I can either pay my tithe or pay my bills. And all of a sudden it puts us as a ministry in the same stress as a person on the pew.
Correct.
To where we feel this conviction and this biblical truth about giving, specifically tithing, and it's easy to preach that from the pulpit.
It is.
And when you believe it and you practice it and you've seen the fruit of it, but now I have to practice it in a church-wide level, and the difference can be, hey, can we pay the light bill this week, or can we pay the denomination, who seemingly, it's easy to say when you're in that perspective to say, well, they got plenty of money.
Which is the same thing people say
to the local church.
To the local church.
Yeah. And so it does put you in a unique conundrum. And you start seeing it like with even like church plants. That you planted the church. So when you're planning a church, one of the most vital resources that you could ever have is finances. Yeah. And so, every church is different, but let's just say, your tithe for any given month is $1,000. $1,000 to sow into a denomination that if you're not careful, you can get in that cynical route of, they don't need that.
They
Man, the
don't
church
need
has
my
got the
money.
money
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever. $1,000. What can I do with $1,000 in my community?
Yeah.
How many meals could I feed? How much ministry could I do? And all of a sudden, you can start really rationalizing this principle that we will turn around and teach to our people. It's interesting.
Woo!
It's interesting.
Woo! David Kemp said to me many years ago in ministry, he said, I never want you to become cynical of the tithe of tithe.
Right.
You've entered into a covenant relationship with this church of God. Is everything right with it? No. Are there some things wrong? I'm sure. He said, but I never want you to become cynical of this tithe of tithe.
Yeah.
I want you to pay it joyfully.
Yeah.
I want you to set the example for other guys as you're giving it. I want you to celebrate what you're doing with this investment into mission states. He said, focus on the areas where this money does go and make a difference. Focus on the retired ministers that it does make a difference to. He said, and celebrate the tithe of tithe that your church is able to give. He said, and I promise you, if you do that, God will bless your church.
Yeah. I would tell you, you know how it is. You know how it can be sometimes when preachers, we begin to talk and have conversations and things. But one of the things was what does the tithe of tithe give me? That's what we say. Like the church people, I pay my tithes.
What I give me?
What I give me? You know, and that we hear the umbrella, the support, things of that nature. But I'll never forget in some of the opportunities I've had to travel, I got to sit with a pastor whose church, ran less than 100 people, 50 people or so, whatever the case may be. Your average church in America, in South Carolina specifically. And in the conversation with him, he had something come up in his church, had nothing to do with him, but he had to utilize some of the resources that the denomination offers in terms of lawyers or whatever. And he looked at me across the table, older general in the faith and that has been around for some time. He said, I will never, ever complain about the tithe ever, because I watched this denomination and step up, put me on the phone with the people I needed to talk to help navigate our church into a healthy future, which could have been a very seemingly difficult process. True. And so when you hear stories like that, it encourages us, even though we should do it out of faith, obligation, what we do, and when we sign up for this, to hear that does encourage people like myself and other young ministers to continue to trust in our movement.
It is true, man. It is a sticking point for a lot of people that shouldn't be, and it's a shame that it is, but it definitely shouldn't be. Let's talk something that it definitely didn't filter down to your generation. Mm-hmm. It started changing in my generation, but the generation above me, they believed 3, 4, 5 years at a church, move on.
Wow. Yeah.
And then my generation started saying, I'll move, but I really want it to be better opportunity.
Strategic.
I needed it to be a strategic move, Mm-hmm. And then your generation and even the next generation that's kind of coming up now, they're like, no, this is where I'm at.
This is an intriguing thought for me.
It is.
I love this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
And the reason I love it, I can remember going to camps at 18, 19 years old, and at the time we had Brother Gillum. Thomas Gillum was our overseer. Loved that guy. He gave me my first opportunity ministry. Shout out Brother Gillum. But he was literally moving to his house. Our class went and helped him move some furniture.
Nice.
And he walked into our class, our first session. He said, I'm still, he had his sweet way of talking. Hey, I'm still finding my way.
Andy Griffith. If you think of Andy Griffith, that is just
Gillum.
The sweetest, kindest
he's
voice.
Incredible.
Yeah.
He said, I'm still getting my feet under me, still figuring my way out. He said, but as I've done my research on our state, he said, I have found that the average pastorate in South Carolina is 2 to 2.5 years. And he looked at a room full of 32 candidates and said, how would you feel if you had a different parent every 2 years? And that stuck with me. And so it's something that I've always prayed, Lord, send me somewhere and let it be until I retire. And that's always kind of been my modus operandi. And it hadn't always happened that way, but that is the way I saw things. But I remember being at camp meeting one time.
You just said modus operandi.
Yeah, it just happens sometimes. I don't know where it comes from.
Keep going.
But
you were at camp meeting one time.
I was at camp meeting one time, and I was walking in the lobby of the hotel, and I heard a group of ministers talking. And as a young minister, I always just like listening, especially if you never know what's going to be said. And I heard a guy who had pastored for some time. He was talking about, I've been kind of figured churches out. After about 2 or 3 years, you don't want to grow. then you just go on to the next one because those people are hard-headed and you need to go find the next church. And I thought that was just an interesting concept, hearing Brother Gillum's heart, seeing a generation that you're talking about, that was their thoughts, and then hearing some others who were saying, no, I want to go somewhere and build something.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very unique in how they've changed. I think it has a lot to do with kids. Generation before me probably didn't have this infatuation with their children like they do now. Generation, you and the one coming up after you have this, I say infatuation, bad word, but where we build our lives around our children.
Yeah.
And so I'll go pastor a church here. I say stuck here in the best way. Like I am sticking this out through everything. I'm stuck here building this church because my kids and my spouse are satisfied or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where, my dad's generation used to use scriptures like, them coming to Jesus like, hey, you're your father and mother, and he's like, you're my family now.
Yeah.
And they used to use scriptures like that to even warp the relationship to their immediate family in saying how much more valuable the church is.
Wow.
So they would just pick up and move to, because the overseer called and said, hey, I need you over here. And they'd say, okay, yes, sir, and pick up and move and hurt a lot of kids along the way. But the flip side is I don't think it's the best place where we're at now either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that my generation got it right either, but I definitely think that there's some unique conversations that can be had here of I know I'm here long term.
Yeah.
A strategic move doesn't intrigue me at all.
And listen, some may look at you now and say, well, of course you're not going nowhere now. But you were saying that at 100, at 50.
At 150, I got asked to put my name in a hat of a church that ran 800.
Wow. They
had come to a conference, a marriage conference that we did. I say 150. We may have had 200. We were doing multiple services. They'd come to, some of their leadership had come to a marriage conference that we did. And they asked me to put my name in the hat. They wanted, I won't say they wanted me to at least apply. I don't even know what the right word is. Try out.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was, God bless, but I was not being like paid well.
Right.
But not only was I not being paid well for what a pastor of 200 had, they were going to give me a raise up to what this size church, so it was like I was gonna get like crazy raise, like crazy facilities. I mean, it was just gonna be so many awesome, like yes, check mark type moment,
Mm-hmm.
like wow, God, I can't believe this is where you did it at. Had a lot of family connections, a lot of moments where you just look around and you're like, this could be an answer to a lot of prayers. And I turned them down. I said, no, I'm not interested in that. This is where God has called me. This is where my feet are planted. This is where my roots are, and I'm going to see what the Lord does here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're right. Now it's easy to say, "Oh, I'm here for the long haul," but I've been saying that for 20 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I wanted to point it out because, there. And I think somebody helped me one time. I think it was a pastor friend of mine one time. I used to almost, because of you said from my perspective in my generation, almost look, for lack of better words, in disdain for people who were out here trying to strategically maneuver their lives to where they can get to this, whatever their pinnacle was, whether it was a board or a position or whatever. And I would be, like, how can you view God's church that way? Like, these are people's lives Absolutely. We're talking about. But I had a pastor friend of mine tell me one time, he said, have you ever worked a job that you weren't promoted? And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, man, when I worked at Subway, I was promoted to night manager. When I worked at the bank, I was promoted to full-time. Then from full-time, and so he was like, anybody who works any job, and I'm not saying that ministry is just a job, but some level it is.
It's a career.
He's like, there is a promotion. He said, and God can absolutely promote you where you are. You can grow the kingdom of God.
Absolutely.
You can grow the local church. But there are moments that the Lord may want to utilize your influence in a different area.
For sure.
And that promotion may come in the form of another church. At that point, it's up to you to discern the voice of God. And it gave me a different perspective to not, because sometimes we get so self-righteous,
For sure.
and point fingers. It began to help me. And I think I was sitting in a mentor meeting with you and Pastor Neil one time when I was pastoring. And, the topic was brought up was there are people that need to have the heart to be an overseer.
Absolutely.
To need to have a heart to be a youth director.
Absolutely.
And to do these positions that are in our denomination. And if you have a heart to do that, if you feel like that's a part of your call, then there are moments in your life where decision making will reflect that.
Right.
And so that just gives different perspective, because it's easy in our little bubbles to say, oh, well, he's just doing X, Y, Z to get to X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Maybe so, because that's what God's called him to. And if so, then why fight it? You know what I mean?
We got a letter recently in the mail about retired ministers.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, give a seed offering or whatever for retired ministers in our state. Let's talk about retirement. You ever think about retirement?
I don't.
You don't ever think about retirement as a minister?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You're 30.
One.
I was going to say 3.
Mm-hmm.
31.
Mm-hmm.
30 years, you're retiring. 35 years, you're retiring. 66, 67 years old.
Dial my shield, baby.
Is that how you feel?
That's the way I feel. Yeah, I don't. To me personally, everybody's life is different.
I mean, this
To me,
it's going to be funny looking back at this 30 years from now.
if we can look at this 30
Right
years
now,
from now,
right now, you're going to be like, for me,
yeah.
that person keep fighting the good fight, and you're like, but then 30 years from now, you'll be like, yeah, but I ain't.
It's time for another generation to take this thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for real, to me, it is definitely something I don't see. Wayne Hodge, God bless you, Wayne Hodge, shout out. He's fussed at me for 10 years. If he broke it down in the church, because the Church of God has a retirement plan, and son, if you would do this at this age, because I started pastoring at 21, 22, he said, if you can do that now, then by the time you're my age, you'll be a millionaire, whatever. And I was like,
Which is anybody in retirement. That has nothing to do with pastoring. That's anybody in retirement. If you can put away $25 a week.
Yep.
At 22, somewhere before 25, $50, $50 a week, I forget what it is. But by the time you retire, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah, because of the way it grows.
Compound interest.
Compound interest, yep. And so, and he's like, I didn't start mine until I was 40-something, and it still helped me in the end of my life, whatever. You need to do this right now while you're starting young. And honestly, I'm one of those younger generations that probably need to get fussed at, because I don't even think about it. Like, it's not even on my radar, and I probably need to do a better job preparing for it, I guess.
My dad used to tell me, there was a guy in our life that we loved very much. He would come preach for my dad every now and then, and he would say that guy gave his entire life to ministry and then got to the end of his life and had nothing.
Wow.
So ministry is amazing. You give your life to it, but you also, make sure that you put away something for retirement. And I, like you, want to die on my shield, holding my shield. I want to make sure that I'm in this till the end. And honest to goodness, like, I'm 45, just celebrated my 45th birthday, and I don't have the energy at 45 that I did at 31.
Right.
And that sounds crazy, because I go.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have the same energy that I did at 45 that I did at 21, 31, 35. And so I was even thinking today, I was like, I better make some plans of, I can still be the wisdom, but I better make sure that there's energy around me to do the things that I'm unable to do in the future. Because if not, I'm going to get to 60 and be looking around and going, hey, somebody go over there. And they're like, we don't know how to do that. You're like, I should have trained somebody whenever I was in my 40s,
Mm-hmm.
So retired pastors, I don't think we honor them well.
I agree.
The life that they lived. I try my best. Bobby Wynn, I tell the story all the time about Bobby Wynn, co-signed for my dad to get like a single wide trailer type chapel pulled to the property, and for him to get the property there at Socastee. A personal note, not the church he was pastoring. He personally co-signed for my dad to get that property, and got to the end of his life, and I saw him one day just sitting in camp meeting all by himself. I went and sat right side of him. I'm like, no,
he's a legend.
We doing, you deserve to be celebrated. I think he's dead now, right? He passed away.
I don't know for sure. That's why I didn't want to respond.
I think so. I think he just passed away recently. But I don't think we treat retired pastors like as well as we should.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you have to give them the pulpit to preach, but I definitely think we've got to figure out a way to. We in our church have to figure out a way to honor them more than we do.
Yeah.
And young guys, you got to figure out a way to finish well and get to retirement. And retired guys, you got to figure out a way to keep going when you get there and keep not only just serving the Lord, but serving the body of Christ in some form, some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, just some conversation that I've been thinking about with retired guys.
Yeah.
You got a retired guy in your life that you just love and honor and appreciate?
Probably not as much as I should. Of course, we've got a good relationship with some of the retired guys here. I love Pastor Brad Westover and Pastor Tom and some of the ones here. Back home, Wayne Hodge was always good to me. He pastored at Society Hill.
What's that song you sing? Another wave of glory.
Yeah, that one.
Is that the one?
That's it. Fresh touch, Lord.
Oh,
your promise could be mine.
There it is. I knew it was gonna come out of
you. I love that guy. He was so good to me, and I would see him sometime. He'd say, "Have you been reading Revelation?" He would just start with sermon and stuff. I mean, he was just. I love Wayne Hodge. He's fun to be around. And then I love Pastor Miles, Brother Miles. I'm nowhere near as close to him as I should be, but any time in my life or ministry I've ever needed his wisdom, he's been there.
He retired, went back to pastoring, retired again, and I heard he's back doing something filling in again. That man's a legend.
Yes.
And honestly, his ministry, we talk about in like the NFL, like the coaching tree.
Yeah.
His ministry tree is impressive.
Yes.
I don't know that there's another pastor in the state of South Carolina that their ministry tree is as impressive as Brother Miles. Maybe there is.
Yeah.
I just don't know of them.
Right. No, I'm a product of it, so I'm very thankful.
Any tree that you and Neil Nolan come out of, that's a preaching tree right there, son.
Shout out Neil Nolan.
That boy preach.
Yes, sir. He'll be feeling the Holy Ghost.
He do. That's my man. That's my dude.
Love him.
How about let's talk the struggle of where we are now versus where you once were with programs or events that the Church of God has. When you were in a smaller church, was the programs valuable and like, oh man, these are life-giving to us because we couldn't afford to pull off, some of these programs ourselves? Or was it, I'm doing this because I'm committed to the Church of God and this is what they're doing?
I think as a lead pastor in the capacity I was in, moments like prayer conference, camp meeting, those minister meetings, those things, those moments were needed for me, for my family, but really for me and my wife specifically to hear the word.
Yeah.
I don't think we do a good job of that as pastors, of hearing others preach, hearing the word, but also the camaraderie, the relationships that are built and things like that. Those were so valuable to me in that arena. And even now, it's a different capacity now being on staff, but it's still for our staff, there's a camaraderie attached to it and the experiences we get to go and things like that. And so I find that those things are, they all have their value. And I would say this, and as a person who has not always appreciated this, you can make the most out of whatever's made available to you.
For sure.
If you go into a situation saying, oh my God, here we go. You know what I mean? And shut yourself off, then you can't expect to receive much from it. And I've been there, and I've done that
For sure.
and had to walk that journey out. But there are several moments in my life and ministry I can point to where it was a word at camp meeting.
No doubt.
It was a worship service.
Youth
it
camp,
was, yeah,
prayer
oh,
conferences,
man.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that kept me going or give me a fresh breath or, whatever the case.
Favorite camp meeting speaker of all time?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough.
If that person's on the schedule this year, you're like, I cannot wait to get to camp meeting to hear said person.
Man. Oh, you got anybody off tip of your
Kip
tongue?
Box impressed me so much at camp meeting, at the PD camp meeting this past few weeks ago.
Well, this feels like a cheat because it's your all-time favorite, but anytime Mark Williams is preaching,
Anytime Mark Williams is
clear
preaching,
the calendar.
Clear the calendar. I'm there.
Clear the calendar.
Kip Box crushed it.
He did.
Amazing. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I've heard Kip Box preach before.
Mhm.
I think he preached at one of our camp meetings in Malden one time.
Yep.
But maybe I was young, or maybe he was young. I can't remember. But maybe I didn't pay his attention as much as I should have. And again, I don't typically like just listen to preachers. Like I don't just have sermons going in my office. I'm maybe once, twice, 3 times a year I'm listening to a sermon from somebody. I don't have anybody like that in my life. So hearing Kip Box at camp meeting really impressed me. It was spot on. Word that was definitely bathed in prayer and yeah. Mark Williams agreed. That's if that dude's on the calendar, I'm there. Front row, I'm ready.
I will never forget my first prayer conference, hearing him, and he quoted an entire chapter of the book of Acts in one version of the Bible.
And we'll do his eyes like this, like he's flipping the page. Or
Yeah,
something
like in his brain, and then quoted the entire chapter again in a different version. So the New King James said it this way, but the ESV said it this way. And I remembered as a 16-year-old going, I don't know what he's got. I want that thing. I better have me some notes in the Bible, though.
Thank God for the word.
I mean, there's just, our denomination is blessed with so many good preachers.
We got some great preachers. Man, I heard Lamar Lee again at this past camp meeting. I was so impressed by him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had met him one time prior to that. Mark Carver had introduced him to me at one of the We Gather events. Only time I've ever said hello to him or anything, and then I heard him preach. I was like, bro, that dude's in some town in Georgia crushing it, and I never even heard of him, but he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. And I know, like, a lot of people, I say this, I'm not going to paint with a broad brush. I would say a majority of people don't always make it to the morning sessions, and I know morning sessions are usually unique, but I feel like for the last few years we've had some strong morning sessions. But coming up, one of my favorite morning sessions that we used to have a lot was Doug Small. I used to love to listen to him teach,
Absolutely,
especially on prayer specifically.
Yeah,
he was such a gifted teacher, and I enjoyed his content. Brian Cutshaw was one of my favorites back in the day, throwing it around. And
you weren't here whenever Brian came and did a leadership training course.
The one I was at 3690.
Gotcha.
And he talked about being in the room that Paul wrote the letters.
Yeah.
And it profoundly impacted me. Yeah.
So good. Brian Cutshaw's.
Yeah.
He's so good. So good. How about your favorite youth camp speaker of all time? Or a service that you were in that you were like, that one changed my life?
Youth camp I'm a little more personally invested in. And so obviously Josh Carter changed my life. Neil Nolan changed my life. That man's is just different, a different animal at youth camp all the time. But at youth camp, man, he's just an anointed speaker. But I'm gonna tell you, I enjoyed the year we had. I think we only had him for either one night or 1 week. But J.C. Worley, even he preached. It was unique to me. I don't know why. I don't even know if I was still a student or a leader at that time. But he preached an entire sermon on reading the Bible.
Nice.
And that was such a unique concept at youth camp.
JC is a good friend of mine. I talk to him weekly. I'm in a big group chat with him and Mo Huggins and
Yeah.
Jason Daldrill. He's a good friend of mine. I love JC. He is an incredible man of God.
Yeah.
Hungry for the kingdom of God to thrive in this season of life. Love JC.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love Neil Nolan. Talk to him every day. So some of those guys that you're naming, I'm with you. What about the worst youth camp speaker you've ever heard? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, no. Now, shout out to Pastor Jamie, because I will never forget the year you used to say things like, I'm not an evangelist.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not an evangelist.
For sure.
And I think some of us in the youth camp circuit were waiting to see how you handle it, because you and Neil Nolan, two drastically different styles of ministry.
For sure.
But that youth camp was one of the more profound youth camps in terms of sermonic delivery, teaching on the Holy Spirit.
So beautiful.
It was, and then watching you operate in the altars, and that's something you wouldn't say admittedly from the microphone, that you would say usually that's not who I am. That's not my strength.
For sure.
I'm obedient to the Lord, but I'm not the go lay hands on everybody guy.
For sure.
But to watch you operate in what the moment required and do it so well, it was something that I really appreciated, watching a different style of ministry be so productive in that environment.
It was a really cool moment for me. Honestly, there's been some really cool moments in my life, and that's definitely one of them. One of them. One of the nights of youth camp that I was at, the power went out, and we actually didn't get started until really late that night. And then the next night, because at PD, power go out all the time. The next night, we just finished altar call. I literally walked out of the door, and the power went out. And I was like, God, thank you so much for letting us get through that.
Mm-hmm.
Love me some PD. What about overseers that you've had? You had Brother Gillum, obviously. You were MIP with him.
I can probably name the overseers I can actively remember in my brain, in terms of I was aware enough to know who or what overseers were. I had Brother Chitwood was my first overseer that I can remember. And he came and preached a district service one time and preached a sermon about, we don't have faith, whatever. I'm going to write a check here. He called me up to the front and said, who, do you think I would write a fake check? And I was 10, 12. Yeah, absolutely. He laughed. He said, that's what's wrong with the church, whatever. He wrote a $20 check, gave it to me. I took it back to my mom. She started weeping. I didn't understand. I found out years later, I had asked my mom that week for a water gun for an event at school. We didn't have the money for the water gun. Oh. And the Lord said, see, I'll even buy your baby's water gun. I'm a God of provision. And so Chitwood, I always remember that moment. That's awesome. Preached at district revival. Then from Chitwood, we had Brother Probst.
Yeah.
And then Brother Gillum I call him my overseer, because that was when I was licensed in ministry, and he helped. He was a part of the process when I got my first church, and then Brother Rabin, and then of course now Brother Morgan.
Interesting. Friend in ministry. Who's your peer in ministry? Obviously, I talked about some of mine, JC and the Moes and the Jasons and the Neil Nolans of the world. Who are the peers that you have that you chat with, and what are the conversations about in ministry? You have Toby, obviously. He's one that's
I'm so strange in this that and I don't know why it is this way, but like me and Toby talk about ministry very rarely. I mean, most of the time when we talk, it's about life, sports, whatever, video games, whatever. I have friends in ministry, but I honestly, admittedly, I probably don't have as many ministry conversations outside of I affectionately call the Palmetto Pointe Church bubble.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Brad Richardson periodically, and we'll talk, ministry stuff and traveling and stuff. He gets a lot of opportunities to preach, and I'll pick his brain about some things. He's great at crafting sermons and stuff, but I don't know. I really don't talk a lot of ministry stuff. Usually, really? I'm just talking. The boys stuff,
like what?
Stuff. Like I said, sports stuff,
Brad's a Cowboys fan.
He is a Cowboys fan.
What did he think about the Broncos whooping them?
I didn't bother him because the Broncos beat us too. And so, I let him rest easy yesterday.
We would have won the NFC East this year if we'd have been in it.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Undefeated right now. We got the Redskins left, but undefeated right now in the NFC East. Let me kind of end this conversation with I love the Church of God.
Yeah.
And I think that it is like any organization has the good and the bads with it. And I know somebody's going to watch this and just try to pull out bad things and, tell us the things that are wrong with it. And yeah, every organization has some things wrong with it. But I think what we do have in the Church of God is a beautiful tribe that has fought hard to be who we are.
Yeah.
We're not ashamed of who we are. This is who we are. We're a Pentecostal movement that loves to preach the word, and we love to, stomp and snort and shout, and we're okay with being this. And I love that we're okay talking about words like holiness. Mm-hmm. And we're okay making statements again, like we did this past General Assembly, of our foundation and things like, sexual identity and requirements of ministry, things of that nature. And so I love a lot of things about this denomination. And to the young guy out there that's pointing at all the bad, let me give you wisdom from David Kemp. You can find all the bad in the world. You can point out every shortcoming that we have, or you can turn your eyes to all the good that's happening all over the world because of what the organization or the denomination or the movement is doing, and you can celebrate all of those things.
Yeah.
Because the truth is there's 9 million members worldwide that are being impacted because of this movement.
Yeah.
And lives are being changed every single week because of this movement. And I celebrate that I'm connected to the Church of God.
Yeah, I agree. And even doubling down on that, one of the things that I feel like I've had the privilege of developing in my time here under your ministry is, rather than focus on the issues that may be present, just like there's issues in anything, any local church, mm-hmm. Any movement, then rather than complain about the issues, pray about how can I help be a part of the solution.
Amen.
We need some of these young guys.
That's right.
And gals.
We need you guys.
Yep.
Don't run away from the denomination. We need you.
Amen.
Stay connected.
Yes, sir.
Love you.
Love you too,
Proud
brother.
of you.
Thank you.
Peace out. Let's go.
Let's go.